Is BTS entering a dark era? Jungkook emerges as the center of the Arirang narrative. Online discussions among fans have intensified following speculation that BTS may be entering a darker, more conceptually layered Era 1, possibly inspired by Arirang. Within these conversations, Jungkook has repeatedly been identified as the potential focal point of the upcoming visual and narrative direction. The theory gained momentum after subtle shifts in aesthetic tone were observed, including darker color grading, dramatic lighting, and symbolic references that appear rooted in Korean cultural imagery. The mention of Arirang, a song historically associated with longing, resilience, and national identity, has further fueled interpretations that the group may be exploring deeper, emotional, and cultural themes. Many fandom analysts argue that Jungkook's presence naturally positions him at the center of such a concept. Known for his expressive performance, style, and strong visual impact, he is often seen as capable of carrying emotionally intense narratives. Supporters suggest that if the Arirang theme is indeed central, Jungkook could embody a modern reinterpretation of its traditional symbolism, blending vulnerability, strength, and transformation. Although there has been no official confirmation regarding the concept, the growing consensus within fan communities points toward Jungkook playing a key role in shaping the tone and storytelling of this rumored era. If realized, it could signal a bold creative shift for BTS, with a darker and more enigmatic atmosphere anchored by Jungkook's artistic presence. If the speculation proves accurate, this potential shift could mark one of the most conceptually ambitious phases in BTS's career. A darker, Arirang-inspired direction would not only deepen the group's storytelling but also reconnect modern pop narratives with traditional Korean symbolism, an artistic move that carries both cultural weight and global intrigue. Within these theories, Jungkook is often described as the emotional bridge between tradition and contemporary identity. His dual image balancing softness and intensity fits the tonal contrast that a reinterpreted Arirang concept might require. Fans note that his ability to convey restrained vulnerability in close-up visuals, followed by explosive performance energy on stage, aligns with themes of internal conflict and transformation. There is also a strategic layer to this discussion. Jungkook's global recognition and solo-era momentum position him as a strong narrative anchor for a high-impact comeback. Placing him at the center of a darker, symbol-heavy concept could maximize both artistic cohesion and international visibility. In global markets, where visual storytelling often drives virality, a striking central figure becomes crucial to shaping first impressions. Some fandom analysts suggest that this rumored era could explore contrasts, light versus shadow, modernity versus heritage, individuality versus collective identity. If so, Jungkook's placement at the conceptual core would not necessarily overshadow the group dynamic, but rather function as a narrative entry point that guides audiences into the broader story. Beyond aesthetics, the idea of a darker era also signals maturity. As artists evolve, thematic depth often expands alongside musical experimentation. Should BTS lean into a more introspective or dramatic atmosphere, it would reflect growth rather than reinvention, an evolution of the layered storytelling they have developed over the years. For now, the Arirang connection remains speculative. Yet the intensity of the discussion itself highlights something significant. Fans are not merely anticipating music, they are preparing for narrative architecture. And in those early interpretations, Jungkook consistently emerges as the gravitational center of the unfolding mystery. Whether symbolic or literal, the idea of a dark era anchored by Jungkook has already reshaped expectations. If confirmed, it could become one of BTS's most visually and culturally resonant chapters yet. As anticipation continues to build, some observers believe that the power of this rumored era lies not only in its aesthetic darkness, but in its emotional depth. If BTS truly draws from Arirang as a conceptual foundation, the narrative could revolve around themes of separation, endurance, identity, and return motifs that resonate both culturally and universally. In that framework, Jungkook's positioning becomes symbolically significant. He represents both continuity and evolution within BTS, the youngest member who has grown into a global solo force, yet remains deeply tied to the group's core identity. Placing him at the conceptual center of a culturally rooted, emotionally charged era could subtly reflect that journey from innocence to introspection, from growth to groundedness. There is also the cinematic potential. A darker Arirang reinterpretation opens space for dramatic storytelling, windswept landscapes, shadow-heavy choreography, restrained expressions, and slow-burning tension. Fans have speculated that such visuals could emphasize stillness and silence as much as movement, creating a mood-driven experience rather than a high-energy spectacle. Jungkook's controlled stage presence and expressive gaze would naturally lend itself to that atmosphere. From an industry standpoint, leaning into heritage-infused storytelling may also strengthen BTS's cultural imprint globally. As K-pop continues expanding, projects that confidently center Korean identity while remaining sonically accessible to international audiences often gain critical attention. If executed thoughtfully, this era could balance authenticity with global appeal. Ultimately, whether the dark era theory materializes or not, the scale of fan analysis underscores BTS's reputation for layered storytelling. Every visual cue is dissected, every symbolic detail mapped into broader narratives. And within that interpretive landscape, Jungkook's recurring presence at the center is not accidental. It reflects how audiences perceive his narrative gravity. If this chapter unfolds as imagined, it may not simply be darker in tone. It could be deeper in meaning, an era defined not by spectacle alone, but by symbolism, restraint, and emotional resonance, with Jungkook guiding the story's emotional core. As speculation continues to evolve, one recurring theme in fan analysis is the idea of transformation. A darker, Arirang-inspired era would not necessarily signify despair, but rather rebirth and artistic shedding of past imagery in favor of something more introspective and symbolically layered. In that context, Jungkook's rumored central positioning could represent transition itself, the passage from youth to legacy, from global idol to cultural storyteller. There is also the possibility that this era, if real, could challenge conventional expectations of what a BTS comeback looks like. Instead of high-saturation visuals and immediate hook-driven choreography, the group might lean into slower pacing, atmospheric buildups, and emotionally restrained performances. Jungkook's ability to command attention without overt theatrics could become a defining element of such a direction. Critically, darker concepts often invite deeper lyrical interpretation. If traditional motifs are woven into modern production, the narrative may explore displacement, longing, or internal duality ideas that resonate across generations. Jungkook's vocal tone, known for blending clarity with emotional texture, could serve as the sonic anchor for that mood. His voice has the capacity to shift from fragile to powerful within a single passage, a dynamic well-suited for layered storytelling. Another dimension lies in global reception. International audiences are increasingly receptive to culturally specific narratives when presented with authenticity and artistic confidence. A concept rooted in Korean heritage yet framed through contemporary visuals could amplify BTS's cultural influence